The one thing about independent games is they tend to be from people. They have passion. They're about somebody's vision. They can change your notion of what you would expect a video game to be.
Indiecade is really aiming at, and in some ways already is, the Sundance of the indie game community. I want to be that brand that you think of when you're like, oh, I want a new experimental game. I want something artistic and interesting in a game. I'm going to go see what Indiecade showed this year.
Indiecade is really about a vision to promote independent game makers and to bring a highlight to what's the cutting edge of the game industry. It's really the place for game makers and for future game makers and for publishers and for people who are interested in supporting independent games to come together. And most of all, what we do is bring a spotlight to some of the most innovative games each year.
We want to help bring these games to a larger public audience that we think is interested in them. But one of the really big things is that if you're someone who makes things, you want to make them to be somewhere. You need a place to show your work, to share it with people. I'm going to make this so I can submit it to Indiecade encourages people to make games.
I think that most people think that video games are either like a Minecraft, because I think that that's kind of swept like a part of a generation, or just a very kind of hardcore game. So I don't think that they think about games that are, for instance, a poem or a personal statement or a horror story or picking flowers. I mean, I think that Game Company is such a good example of taking beautiful moments and ideas and turning them into games and translating that so people can say, wow, there's a game about picking a flower.
There's a huge growth right now in what you might call reflective games, or games that are relaxing, games that aren't driven constantly to achieve more and more points, but are instead about exploring open spaces that are interesting and engaging and you can interact with, but a little less goal-driven. One of my favorite examples of this is Dear Esther, which is a game we showed long before anyone else. Then, 4 years after we showed Dear Esther, we have an amazing set of games submitted to our festival that we showed this last year that are in this style. Gone Home was a huge success by the Fulbright Company this last year. It is following sort of the charge that's being made here. By helping expose the first experiments in this field, we encourage people to develop essentially whole new genres of games.
We've seen independent games just like sweep, really pushing the mainstream. They're making such a big difference on all of the consoles now. They're kind of the differentiator. And there's so many ideas that have kind of yet to evolve. I think the ideas that are going to push the game industry into the future are going to come out of the independent sector, and they're ideas that we have yet to explore.